Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, Chief Sophia. How are you doing?
I am doing great. This little discussion is a break from my regularly scheduled programming, but what I have found out is crazy.
Nice. Yeah, it feels it's not going to be light, but it feels lighter for sure than our other topics.
Yeah, I think we have to break it up sometimes because if we just do all serious stuff, like
It's thick.
no.
It's
Yeah,
thick.
it's it's too much. It's like you have to have a breather every once in a while. But I'm not sure this is going to be
No,
light.
it's not. It's not, but it's definitely something different, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Well,
nuts.
cuz I saw on my feed, I saw a tweet a guy was like oh, my wife uh showed me or told me that um what's his name? Kirk.
George Floyd,
Yeah, George Floyd and what's the other guy?
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk have the same. I forgot his name, which is like he's been all over. I don't know why I would forget Charlie's name. Same birthday, and um, with cardology, that's the same energy. Like it doesn't matter if you were born on a different year. Like that specific date is uh, represents a specific card, which in this case, the card is the Eight of Clubs, as well as the Four of Spades. And so for them to share the same birthday and have this type of reaction, as well as kind of I think situation in terms of how they died, or at least the circumstances surrounding their death, is very interesting. And so it's like George Floyd was the colored version, and then now we have Charlie Kirk being the white version. Um, so yeah, definitely. I think exploring that, like what that even means, what that looks like, because clearly, what the vibes that I get is it's like when you end up when you're in a relationship and then you leave that relationship and then you enter another relationship and it's like the same dynamic. It's like that karmic dynamic. And then you wonder, like, and a lot of people always ask themselves, like, why do I keep entering into like the same relationships? Obviously different people, but why does the same thing keep happening? And so I feel
Right.
like with Charlie Kirk and George Floyd, it's almost like there's something that the United States is having to figure out that either didn't figure it out last time, or it's like kind of balancing the weights of in terms of like, okay, this happened, so now how are we going to deal with it again?
So we have to add the third leg. Like we have to worry. Imagine this. First of all, I was like, let me just look and see who else that would fit into this story was born on this day, right? And so this day is an extremely popular day. October the 14th is an extremely popular births. When I say I was scrolling through like probably almost 100 quote unquote famous people from all the way back to the 1600s was born on this day. I've looked at like my birthday to see who they. It's like nobody. This is like crazy. So the third leg, or where this story begins, which is nuts, is with Dwight Eisenhower. He was also born on October the 14th in the year 1890. And he was the president when we went through World War II. Like at the end of World War II. No, wait, not at the end. He was in the army in World War II. I'm sorry. No. He came into office in 19 no. Yeah, he came into office in 1943. No, wait. Let me look at this. I'm not so good with the history. 1948. He came into office in 1948. So this must have been shortly after World
Mm,
War II.
I think
Um,
right, yeah, like in the crux of it, because FDR had just died.
right. He came in right after FD. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. He has a lot of stuff. In okay, let me just read it. So he was the supreme commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force in the World War II from 1943 to 1945. Then he was the first military governor of the American occupied zone in Germany from 1945 May to November of 1945. Then he was the 16th chief of staff of the army from November of 1945 to February of 1948. Then he was the 13th president of Columbia University from 1948 to 1953. Then he was a supreme Allied commander in Europe from 1951 to 1952, and then he became president in 1953 to 1961. I'm sorry, I had to read it in the order they have it on this thing. So he was in the middle of World War II, and I was just reading a little bit about this. Like, I'm not a super like World War II like fanatic like some people I know, but he's the one that made those operations, some of the more aggressive ones, work. He's really the reason why the war ended, because uh, he was the supreme commander of the Allies. Like, this is a huge deal. So what does it have to do with so he died
And
in
he decided to bomb Japan with the atomic weapons.
yeah, and when he got in office, he threatened China with the atomic bomb, so they would stop doing whatever he was doing. This man was not nothing to play with.
Yeah,
And
launched the Marshall Plan, led US into the Korean War, created NATO.
this is no,
Wow.
like, imagine I'm like, okay, just like, I couldn't believe this. Something that was said
Mm.
at his funeral by, let me see if I can find it. Oh my goodness, it was like, holy smokes, this is crazy. Um Here we go. It says President Nixon eulogized Eisenhower in 1969, saying, "Some men are considered great because they lead great armies or they lead powerful nations. For 8 years now," so he got out of office in 1961 and he died in 1969. "For 8 years now, Dwight Eisenhower has neither commanded an army nor led a nation, and yet he remained through his final days the world's most admired and respected man, truly the first citizen of the world." What?
Wow.
The
Oh
first
my
citizen
gosh.
of the world. That's what
What does that
Nixon
even
said.
mean?
Exactly. Okay, so this man died in 1969. George Floyd, let me pull his chart up. George Floyd was born in 1974. So 69. So 5 years later, the first 5 years after the first citizen of the world dies, here you have George Floyd born. Like, what does that even like? What does that even
And
mean?
Charlie Kirk, how many years after? Was Charlie Kirk younger than George Floyd?
No. Charlie Kirk was born in 93.
Oh wow, Charlie
So
Kirk's young.
yeah, he's very young, very very young. So
So George Floyd is part of what generation?
he
Generation
is a
X?
Gen X. Yeah, he's a, which I suspected he was a Gen Xer. But his chart is so like incredible. Like, both of them have charts that you never seen charts like this. So he has his Pluto and Libra, and his Pluto and his moon are conjunct. So he has the Pluto and then moon and then Venus and then Mars and then the sun, all in Libra. And he has his Uranus in Libra and a couple other things that I don't want to get into because it's going to make it too complicated. But just those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 placements alone, and it's in the 10th house. Well, we don't know exactly his time of birth, but that's incredible. Like, that's not like, you don't have a stellium. Like, it's very rare to have that many planets in a stellium. I have a stellium in Scorpio. It's not that it's I don't think it's 6 placements. That's a lot. And his Mercury is in Scorpio and is a retrograde So it's just one house over from wherever the rest of this stuff is happening, depending on time of birth. And I didn't go into time of birth. And then he has his Neptune in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, Neptune, this is people who are Neptune is the way that you're deceived, okay? So being that it's in Sagittarius, he will be deceived by leadership. And if you know anything about George Floyd's like story, he he was if he was a Gen Xer, that means it explains a lot about how he was doing like pornos and like he was the reason why he died. Like let's just the reason why he died is because he took a fraudulent $20 bill into a corner store. And because the strip club that he was operating out of was money laundering in Minneapolis. This is well known. It was well documented until they scrubbed the internet. And so what ended up happening was when he took that $20 bill in there, the people called 911, but they also called Derek Chauvin personally because Chauvin worked at the same strip club. So that's why he was the first person on the scene when the whole event happened or didn't happen, whatever it was. He was the first one on the scene because they worked together. So the reason why all the information came out the way that it did, and it's been so much, mystery and whatever, is because they're trying to cover up this money laundering that was going on at the strip club. That's what his whole death was about. They was laundering so much money out of this strip club that he wasn't supposed to take it, and he took it and spent it at the corner store. And so in order to because when you have something like that, they call the feds. So that's why the police was the first ones there. They beat the feds there. Like this is what this whole thing is about, is it lost to history, right? And so you could see that like in this chart, he has his Jupiter in Pisces in retrograde. So I have Jupiter in retrograde. It is impossible like to put your hands on money and keep your hands on money. And this is square. Basically, his Jupiter is square his Neptune. So it's always somebody lying to him about money. Like he could never oh gosh, this stuff is so sad. Like he could probably never get his hands around enough money to escape the trouble that he was in. Like it was always just outside of his reach because this Neptune square Jupiter. And then he also have his Chiron, which Chiron is the wounded healer. He has his Chiron in Aries, and so Chiron spends the most time of the zodiac in Aries. Like if you want to know where your wounds are, it's where your Chiron is. And because his is in Aries, his wounds were basically who he was on the outside. Like his look, his image, what he was putting off. And being that he was like making sex tapes and working at a strip club and all this different stuff, you could see that. You would, because if you had respect for yourself on the outside, you wouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. You just wouldn't. And so Chiron, Aries is in, Chiron is in Aries for 8.4 years in total. So it's the most out of the whole time. Chiron has a 52-year cycle. Chiron is actually also it is the planet that syncs up with the Zolkin cycle that we use for our Jubilee calendar. So Chiron's a very, very important planet, which is why I always, try and see where people's Chiron is, especially if you're trying to figure out how to, what you're being wounded by. And even in his death, like this man has been dead since 2020, and his image is still being drugged through the mud by these, conservatives who always want to make fun of him. You know what I mean? Because, oh, he was this and this and that. And it's like, okay, but like, y'all still making fun of him? Like, even in his death, he's still being made fun of for that. So, it's pretty incredible. Something else is he has his Pluto right beside Apollon. And Apollon And as for astrological purposes, is Satan. Like it is how Satan attacks you, right? And so because Pluto, who is right beside Apollon, it's and all of this stuff is in Libra. It's like it's going to be a very Satan is there. He's not outside somewhere. He's literally in here somewhere. Like that's basically how I would interpret that. You never want to see Apollon like super close to like a bunch of other planets, because basically it's almost like the poisonous apple. Like you're trying to get over all of this like emotional stuff, and then you always have, especially since he's got his moon basically practically conjunct his sun, Venus, Mars. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to also like always be doubting yourself, always be questioning yourself, plus your Chiron and Aries. Like it is this is a really like rough chart. This is really rough. And so to look at Charlie's chart, which again, I don't like pulling people's chart. Let me just say, I don't just pull random people's chart only because this seemed like it was important. Did I say I'm going to pull the chart and look at it? But I don't. This when you look at somebody's chart, you're literally invading their privacy. But this is seemed like it was important enough that I would, because otherwise I don't get into doing stuff like this. So the difference between Charlie's chart and his chart is that he's got a Libra stellium, so he's got a bunch of placements in Libra, and he's got a Scorpio stellium. So he also has a grand water trine between and a trine is basically planets in the same houses, like all the water planets. I mean, all the water houses. So he's got, well, in this case it's an air trine. He's got his Saturn in Aquarius. He's got his what is this thing called? Oh my goodness, I can't remember what it's called. Let me come back to that one. But it's Kronos. Kronos is in Gemini, and he has basically Vulcan, which is Vulcan and the sun are always close together, and Vulcan is in Libra right beside his sun. So how can I explain this? Saturn is the current ruler of time, right? And you have it trine Kronos, who is the old ruler of time, which is trying to Vulcan, which is like that thing that makes you do things like he was a perfectionist. So you have a perfectionist with the old time and the new time. Like that's how you would read that energy. And he has his moon is in Libra, and it's basically his moon and then Apollon and then the sun. So that enemy that he was fighting was always very close to him. Like Satan was right at his door. Like he probably didn't know how close it was to him. And that's because you got the sun and the moon only separated like by less than 5 degrees on each side by Apollon. That's like very, very treacherous. But he also has his Jupiter in Libra, rounding out the stellium that he's got here. And it's almost like the so he has his Venus in at the end of Virgo, the very last degrees of Virgo. And if you know anything about Venus in Virgo, it's a very, very difficult placement. My daughter has this. It makes you like weird and like awkward around like the opposite sex, like super weird, super awkward, just like unusual, right? And he has his right beside Juno, which is Juno is the goddess of like relationships, partnerships, and stuff like that. And then he has his moon. So he's very emotional about these partnerships and relationships that he has. And then you have Apollon. So it's like the devil is right there, like in the midst of your like capacity to be. I'm surprised he's married. Like this is very, very difficult. Very, very difficult energy to deal with, like in general. And then beside his son, he has this Vulcan, which is like, again, the perfectionist, and Jupiter, which is your expansion. So his sun energy, which is like your career, your job, or whatever, was always expanding, and it was always like perfectly expanding, which is like, I mean, this is not like a horrible like placement, except for you got Apollon right there in the mix. His Venus and his Mars are kind of far apart, because he has Mars in Scorpio, he's got Mercury in Scorpio, and he's got Pluto in Scorpio. So I'm a Pluto and Scorpio person too. I'm at the beginning, obviously he's at the end. Pluto and Scorpio is extremely difficult, because Pluto is already death and rebirth. And then if you add in the fact that it's like Scorpio, which is also death and rebirth, it's like constant evolution. So like people who have Pluto and Scorpio, you're always evolving. You're not even thinking about how much you're evolving. You just keep evolving, keep evolving, keep evolving, and you don't really slow down. Like you don't stop. And so when you get new information, you just add that new information in, and you just keep it moving. Like, and if you are a person who's wanted, especially like a Pluto and Leo person, the boomers, you don't understand that, because boomers are very slow. Anybody who has their Pluto in a fire sign is actually very slow to change your mind. They're quick to act, but very slow to change their mind. So like my daughter is Pluto and Sagittarius. She'll move fast at any moment. But is she going to change her mind? Very, very rarely. That's a whole nother thing. They just move slowly, because Sagittarius is Zeus. It's the king of the gods. So basically, you don't have to move fast, because you're the king, and that's how Pluto and fire signs take that. Apollo obviously is related to Leo, and so Apollo is basically like the mini king. So you're not gonna move too fast. Another interesting thing about his chart is that he actually has his Chiron in Virgo, and so Virgo is very, very interesting, because it's related to like your abundance, and not just like monetary abundance, but like spirituality abundance. And so that would explain why he was always evangelizing, because that was his way of dealing with this wound in Virgo, which is about your abundance, but specifically your spirituality. So this is why it would be such a threat for him to go from being a Protestant and being baptized as a Catholic, because Protestantism and Catholicism are totally different. Again, the biggest difference being this whole concept of original sin. Protestants don't even understand that they have this worldview, because they're never told it. It's like told to them in a like an outside way. And so if you're gonna go from being a Protestant, and Protestants are basically the creation, the invention of Israel, to being a Catholic who was not created and invented by Israel, you're gonna have a big problem. Like you're just gonna have a huge issue. And he was in the process of about to of conversion. So that's another like aspect that people don't want to really get, especially the Protestants. They don't want to talk about that too much, because it's a very important part of the cycle. And the last insane thing, like when I say insane, insane, he has a Uranus Neptune conjunction in Capricorn. Now, Uranus and Neptune have very large, like I think Neptune is 160 years. Uranus is 84 years, I believe. He has a conjunction. Like Uranus is like that weird thing that like when you do something unusual, you do something unexpected, you do something that is against like the way that people normally do things. And Neptune is your propaganda. So basically, he can't be propagandized. Like You can't be propagandized when you have Uranus and Neptune conjunct. Like, the propaganda is just not going to work. Not only can you not be propagandized, you're going to be one of the best propagandists to ever exist. This is like you cannot fail with, like, you would have to really try hard to fail if you have this conjunction in your chart, because you can propaganda, you can sell water to a fish. This is like, would have been he was a salesman. Look at TPUSA. Like, yeah, they might have gave him some money, but he had to go out there and sell it to the people, which he did, which he was excellent at. It makes sense why he just wanted to, again, talk to people. This would have been because Uranus and Neptune is in Earth sign. Now he has like an Earth trine too. It's just not exact. So he has his Chiron and Venus in Virgo, which is an Earth sign. He has this Uranus Neptune conjunction in Capricorn, which is an Earth sign, and then in his in Taurus, he has Sedna, which Sedna is your subconscious. Like, the concept of Sedna was like a native goddess. And so in this particular story, Sedna becomes a deity because basically I retold her story, so I don't want to get into it too much, but she basically, her mother, in the story it says her father, but to me it's obviously her mother, basically drowns her, and the gods who see her drowning have compassion on her and make her the queen of the deep sea. And so Sedna she is our deep, like, subconscious, unconscious mind. And so he's doing all this stuff, like, again, unconsciously, because he's got this like amazing trine with these energies that's just like kind of like working in his subconscious mind. He don't really have to work too hard. He also has Ceres in Taurus, but it's at 1 degree, so it's much further away from this potential kind of trine by sign energy. So he's got like this amazing chart, honestly. Like, I've just never seen anything like that. His nodes, which again, the north node is feminine energy, and the south node is masculine energy. His north node was in Sagittarius, which is again the king energy, and the south node was in Libra, which is again the the feminine energy, and it's kind of by itself. So his nodes weren't really like super activated. They're not like affecting him, because some people like me, I have my nodes in the midst of all my other stuff, so I'm very much affected by the move of the moon. Like, I'm very much affected by that. But because his nodes are kind of far away, and his moon is really, it's in Libra, but it's almost, like I said, conjunct the sun, but it's not exactly conjunct the sun. So he is emotional, but his emotions were not like what was his emotions were not affecting his decision making. And a woman couldn't affect his decision making either, which is like exactly what you would need in order to be able to build a huge organization, without like having everything crash around you. So let me talk about Eisenhower's chart a little bit, and then we can go back to discussing this. In Eisenhower's chart, he doesn't have as huge of a stellium in Libra as the first two. However, he has Mercury in Libra, the sun in Libra, a Vulcan, obviously, and Uranus in Libra, basically right beside the moon, which is at 0 degrees of Scorpio. So when you have something in your chart at 0 degrees, it is the most powerful thing in your. I happen to have. I happen to have my Neptune at 0 degrees, so it propaganda is really like I have to be very careful, because I could go all the way down the rabbit hole on something that's completely not true. And because it's his moon, he could you can either be extremely emotional or you can have no emotions at all. And based on the fact that he dropped a nuclear weapon, allegedly, like, right, because who knows if that was real or not, but the fact that he dropped such a huge weapon on a country with basically not no like remorse about that, and he also threatened to do it again to China. This man had no emotions, cold as ice. Like, he handled business and that was it. Like, there was no like funny business or anything like that. Now, he does have a problem because he has his Pluto in Gemini, which Pluto and Gemini, I think I call them the lost generation. Um I think I call them the lost generation, but Gemini is the library card. So if you have placements in Gemini, you have access to vast amounts of knowledge. Now, what you don't have is the capacity to use any of it because Gemini placements don't give you access to exactly what you want. They just give you access to everything. You would need a very strong Virgo placement in order to have access, which this individual does have. Eisenhower, he's got Saturn in Virgo. Virgo is the librarian. I should have mentioned that before. Virgo is a librarian. So literally, he's got the library card in Pluto, and he has his Neptune also basically conjunct his Pluto. So again, somebody who is hugely successful at propaganda, and he has a library card because he has his Saturn in Virgo. Like, this man was nothing. And he has also this another one of these guys who has like a trine by sign because his Jupiter was in Aquarius. So he has, it's not like exact trine, like the astrologers would not say it's exact, but it's definitely by sign because he's got Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra activated. So now, oh, I forgot to mention, in Charlie's chart, I already said his Chiron was in Virgo, but I should mention Chiron is only in Virgo for like less than 2 years. So it's a very rare thing to have Chiron in Virgo, right? Um Eisenhower has his Chiron in Leo. Let me see how long it's in Leo. Chiron is in Leo for just over 2 years. So also very rare to have Chiron in Leo. Um Leo is related to Apollo, so it is the representation of the sun in the zodiac. And so if you have your Chiron in Leo, you're wounded by your publicity. And so this had no effect on him because he has this moon at 0 degrees of Scorpio. So whenever, I would imagine that whenever his stardom challenged him, that moon came in, was like, okay, Playboy, just keep it moving. Like, don't worry about that. Keep focused on your goal because Scorpio is the death and rebirth, but it's not optional. Like, you don't get to choose whether you go through death and rebirth as a Scorpio. You have to do it. You are um you're forced to do it. And so that probably did not affect him very much at all. In his, I mean, it didn't, because he was a very successful president. He ran 2 terms. He clearly, he didn't, like, he wasn't a senator or something like that first. He was in the military, obviously, but he wasn't like, this whole path, I guess, to being a leader. So I say all this to say, you have Dwight Eisenhower as the first citizen of the world, right? And so what do? From there, they try to take, like, they take out
Harry Truman?
what? No, Eisenhower.
Was it Harry?
I'm talking
Oh,
about
Eisenhower. I
Eisenhower.
don't know why. Oh, I was thinking about Truman.
Yeah, they're very
Okay.
similar. That's what I was also thinking, but there, I think I think Truman was before Eisenhower.
Okay, that's what got me mixed up. So I think Truman was the one that took over after FDR.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not so good
Okay.
with the again, I try to keep up with it, but it be too much and I be thinking about my own history and not get into US history as much, although I should. Um so you have Dwight Eisenhower as the first citizen of the world, and then you have George Floyd, who's like he in a perfect world, like without all of the circumstances around being black, he could have been an excellent politician with his placements and stuff like that, for sure. But now you have them taking out Charlie, who would have come in and he surely would have won the presidency if he would have won. I mean, if he could have ran. And he would have been like another version of Eisenhower. So that's like unacceptable to where I think this is clarifying to me, like, what their actual plan was. Like, they do not want, like, the world to really be connected. They don't really want people to be connected. They want people to hate each other. And so you can't hate each other when you have central, like, everybody loved Eisenhower. Like, it said that. Like, there's no president that you go like every now, mind you, he fought in the war, he tore these people up, all of this stuff. He was still loved. You don't have that nowadays. Like, that's like that's basically like not possible. And so they already have this problem with Trump, who is like very much in this energy. Like, if they can keep the propaganda up, of course they can make everyone hate him or whatever. But like Charlie, kind of difficult. It'd be kind of difficult to go through a president, a hypothetical presidential election cycle. Maybe even he would have been JD Vance vice president. Because another part of this is, why did JD Vance like cancel his 9/11 stuff to go and pick up his body? And at first I thought, okay, this could be like some sort of a like an insider political thing. But then I remembered our conversation about the king and the priest. And so it was Charlie who really pushed for JD. He was really pushing for him. He got Don Jr. on, and they were pushing for JD. And so JD understands that Charlie crowned him again as the quote unquote junior king, but still, he was crowned by Charlie. So that was out of respect. And in the story of Moses, when Moses was getting ready to, like, he couldn't go into the next thing, the king or whoever their leader was went with Moses into the mountain and laid him down to die, basically, and then came back down and told the people Moses is dead and now it's time to go. Um so yeah, that's basically why JD did that, because Charlie crowned him, and so um
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's scripture to go along with this, but I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about this part before I go into the scripture, because this is like a lot of information. It's overwhelming.
So the overall high level picture is, you think they took um, Charlie Kirk out because he was on the verge of like he was bringing forth the unification almost. He
Right,
was
right. The
like the bridge.
Again, a new world order they didn't control because Charlie was
And it's
self-made.
interesting because last spaces we talked about the throat chakra being the
Mm-hmm.
bridge. And in many ways, I think he represents the throat chakra
Exactly.
because he went to all these universities, all these different areas
And look
to
how George
talk, to
Floyd died.
communicate.
Look how he died. They strangled him. So again with the throat.
Yeah. So okay, so Charlie, I can see I can see, yeah, the system, like, basically, in whether it was directly or indirectly, energetically at the minimum, took him out because, as you said, like, he was a significant threat to,
Mama, I got two
yeah, to the
popcorn.
new world order. What role, because it seems like George Floyd was like the appetizer. It was like George Floyd was like the attempt to, and it did create very intense division.
Right.
And um so it's
I
like,
wouldn't
and
say he was an
supposedly,
appetizer. I would say, as a person who regularly talks to someone who's in the Gen X generation, Gen X has been systematically cut down and literally
yeah,
murdered off. Like, they're just trying to silence Gen X. Like, they don't want to deal with Gen X at all because they have no control over them. So this was literally like the nail in the coffin in their mind of Gen X.
Charlie.
No, 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 George.
Oh.
Yeah, they thought they
And what do you
killed
mean by
him.
nail in the,
Oh,
like,
because Gen X, they've been trying to take them out since they was born. Gen X is the one where they started all of those abortions. They was getting killed in the street. They had all those heavy drugs, the crack epidemic, and all of that stuff. They were the first latchkey kids. Like, they have been trying to kill off Gen X by any means necessary. And so when they took George out, they took out the throat chakra of Gen X. So with Charlie, they're trying to do the same thing with the millennials. They want the millennials to shut up,
okay. Yep. Right. Yep.
to stop
Okay.
talking.
Now I can see it.
Yeah, they
Right.
don't want us to talk. They don't want to again.
Well, and notice, some of these influencers, at least that I've seen on my feed, is they were kind of like, I forgot, it was something like, you got to be careful about like what you're
Right,
saying,
they're scared.
because yeah, like you never know like what can happen, and everyone's like all into conspiracy theories now. And at least when I got really heavily involved in that, like, I was looking behind my back for some reason. Like, it's very easy to get super paranoid when researching conspiracy theories, because you think that you're going to get taken out, even though, at least in my opinion, now looking back, there's no reason why you'd be taken out, unless you're playing a very significant, influential role in the system. Just knowing stuff, it doesn't really mean much unless you're actually enacting on it. So
Well, let's
yeah,
go back
exactly.
to the whole concept of the three worms, because remember, it's not about what's going on outside of you, it's what's going on inside of you. So if you have, again, this is the running joke, I do not have knowledge that will lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton, like, but that's in your mind. If you have knowledge that will lead to the arrest or the expelling of these three worms, yeah, they'll come and
Mm,
take you. Of course, they'll convince you to. They run your mind. They run your heart. They run your gut. That's why talking the conspiracy theories out loud, like, was such a threat. It wasn't the conspiracy theory itself. It's saying it to another person, because your internal worms are already, like, remember, all of these entities, they have like a network, a communication network, right? So if you are like saying something out loud that will trigger someone else to, cut off their worms, the source of food for their worms, yeah, they will communicate back, hey, that person is cutting off our source of energy. Get rid of them. So no, conspiracy theorists are right to be paranoid, but they're paranoid about the wrong thing. You don't be paranoid about outside of you. You need to be paranoid about these worms communicating with these other entities to take you out.
yeah, right. Well, and I think, like, because all of this is energetic, so in
Right.
terms of like, it's I believe the only way that one can actually be taken out is if one believes that one is able to be taken out. There's now, obviously, I don't know when it comes to the higher level, especially with these kind of more well-known personalities, but this attack, as you said, with using George Floyd to take out energetically the Gen X, and now this attempt to take out the millennials, is by attacking the throat chakra, you start to, or one starts to, uh, reduce the communication abilities, And you're basically what one is doing is basically creating internal stagnation of energy.
Right.
Because when the energy is supposed to be released, it's supposed to be expressed, it's supposed to be emitted, we're scared of X, Y, and Z, or oh,
Right.
Hillary's gonna take me out, as you mentioned, or oh, the Illuminati or the
Right.
Rothschilds,
Right.
or even on the left side, Trump. The
Right.
whole thing that he's doing with the immigrants and now with the hate speech or whatever, like that's, I mean, that's another perfect the hate speech.
Right.
The whole hate speech thing about we got to go after people that talk shit about Charlie Kirk. Now, on one side, I can see it, but on another side, this is a full-on assault on the throat chakra, freedom of
Yes.
speech,
Yeah.
where people now they don't know what to say or speak, or because maybe they might say something that seems like it's a little too threatening, and then the government's now going to come after you. So most of these people have not been doing anything that is threatening, but the idea, the thought that they might potentially get backlash, whether it's in their work, whether it's at home, whether it's by the government, legally, it takes them out.
Right.
And so most of these people are being taken out, while the ones that kind of can sense that, very similar to COVID, that there's something iffy going on, they're standing up and
Right.
they're speaking out and they're saying, no, we're not gonna fall by the wayside in terms of this attack. But I think your conclusion in terms of this is a generational attack on the throat chakra is exactly that. That's exactly what's going on. Is they're trying to stop this awakening, they're trying to stop this new world order, and they're doing it in a very gruesome way with Charlie Kirk.
Right.
And it just shows once again they're desperate. The desperation is just so intense that they're willing to take out a potential Dwight D. Eisenhower. Like
Exactly.
they don't care about how they can mess up the system. They just want to um, take out any of the opposition, doing it energetically, aka taking out that throat chakra. But what it's really doing, it's actually just solidifying like our power in this reality, because our throat chakra now has become stronger. Now, the
Right.
other people, the people that are kind of falling for the games, like they're probably, they have to go and figure out how to strengthen the throat chakra down the line because maybe they're going to fall for it currently. But it's getting to a point now in the system where, like, yes, congrats, you manipulated the masses once again, but the people that actually hold the power, you just made them stronger. So it's going to intensify the desperation, because how they maneuver themselves is they must have some machines or something that like absorbs the energy. Like they must have some ability to get an energetic sense of the frequency of this reality. And by
You know how they do it? They use the Schumann. That's what the Schumann is. That's how they know that their thing didn't work.
mm,
The Schumann resonance. Remember, I told you in the last spaces, the Schumann resonance was basically offline,
yeah,
didn't do
right.
anything until Thursday. So they did this whole thing. They were looking for a spike in the Schumann resonance. They know that it failed. Like they know.
So
And
okay, so after
Thursday
the
was
assassination, they were expecting the Schumann resonance to pick up.
yes, it should have spiked.
Mm.
It had every
And
single.
instead it
I've
got
been
quiet,
watching
right?
the Schumann. Yeah, it was still quiet. It spiked
Mm.
on Thursday, which is the day of creation where the animals were created. Because remember, we're this the that time from the first day of the year of snake year through the 12th day of the year of snake year is the replay of creation. It's creation replays itself every 12 days. So they're looking for like something to happen because that happened on the second day of creation. And on this, hold on, I can tell you what happened on the second day of creation. I can't remember off the top of my head. On the second day, that's the first day. On the second day, let there be a firmament in the midst of the water. Let it divide the water from the water. And it was so. And God made the firmament, and God divided the water under the firmament from the water above the firmament. So God called the firmament heaven. God saw it was good, and there was evening and morning the second day. So basically, they were trying to stop the second day, the creation of heaven.
Oh shit.
They're trying to interrupt the creation of heaven. It didn't work. The Schumann resonance didn't really make a noise until the fifth day, when that's the day that animals were created.
So the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated was the day of the creation?
It's second
The
day
next
too.
day was creation.
Yeah, because the
What was that
cycle
day then? What
starts
was the
where
first day?
what happened. The first day was the day that we talked. The eighth and the ninth.
Yeah, in terms
That
of
was one day.
like what God did.
Oh, what
Yeah.
happened? Oh, on the first day. On the first day of creation. Okay.
I keep thinking Christmas.
That's I know. Okay. In the beginning, God made heaven and earth, and the earth was invisible and unfinished, and darkness was over the deep.
Mm.
So the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the water. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light, and it was good. God divided the light from the darkness.
Mm.
God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and morning one day. So that was the day. They want the light to be created because they want to manipulate the light. So they're not going to stop the light from being created, but will they do this other thing that they did here? Like, okay, just create the light, then you can leave out the door. We'll take it from here. Like, no, you can't do that. That's nuts. These people are crazy.
Right,
This
so
is
so the
like
day
insane asylum
so the
crazy.
day God created the light, which created the division between the dark and the light, they're trying to manipulate the new creation of basically
Right.
they're trying to take control of the new world order. That's really what they're doing. Because
Yes.
because,
Yes.
the light, AKA, it's something, so it's like we've been in the dark. We've been in the
Right.
darkness, and then now the light is being born, the new world order is being birthed, and that's when they strike, try to clamp down on the throat chakra, and then for the
Right.
next day, making it so that, I guess I gotta think more about the heaven side, but, yeah, I mean, they're trying to take well, so I mean, this is what's so crazy is, like, they were under the impression that they were the ones that were creating the New World Order. I mean, that was the whole NWO, New World Order. That was like, they had it in the bag. Everything was gonna go swimmingly.
You missed the step. You missed the step.
Uh,
They know the calendar and they're lying about it. How did they know there was a second? We're the only people who talking about this. How did they know there was a second day of creation? How would they have that knowledge? How would they know
hmm.
that the first day of creation was 2 days because of the whole time that the degree at 6 a.m.? How would they
Well,
know
okay,
that?
so, I mean, yeah, so I think there's 2 theories to that. That they do know the calendar, which is very possible, but I would say actually that, like, they're not aware of the calendar, and they're just so desperate that they are doing what they can with their own calendar, and it actually worked in our favor.
Right, that's
So it
true
could be,
too.
I think it could be because, like, all of this reeks of insane desperation. And are you really
Right.
gonna, like, if you're really aware of the calendar, are you really gonna play God like this? Like, when you don't really have all the
Well, they
cards?
think they are God. They think they are God. See, I talked about this a long time ago on my channel. Either you think you are God or you serve at the pleasure of the creator. These people believe they are the creator. They don't believe there's a God higher than them. They took that saying that they attribute to Aleister Crowley, do as thou wilt, to be literal, even though he was making fun of them. It was he was making fun of them. They didn't understand that. They took it seriously.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so this, so you, from this, you'd say that, well, I mean, the thing is they have to know the calendar, although I don't think they know yours. I feel like they probably got their own and it's not.
They know something because it's too precise. Like
Right, right.
it's because astrologically, like the only thing that was happening was on the 9th you had the black moon opposite Chiron, and then on the 11th you had the south node conjunct the sun opposite the north node. But they did it on the 10th in the middle of that. There's that's nothing. There's nothing on like
Mm,
there's nothing on that day, you know, except it's a 5. It was a 5 personal day. So 5 is like changing directions. So they could have been using that, but it just seems like such a stretch. Like you plan out this whole big thing based on this one, like it seemed like such a stretch. Like I would have to conjoin, like if it seemed too complicated, it
yeah.
probably is. The easy solution is they've got this calendar somewhere that they use for their own usefulness. Somebody does. Somebody, you know, who some or someone is remote viewing me. That's also a possibility. And my stuff is public, so they could have been watching my channel, which is also a possibility. I mean, the whole thing is it's not like I'm hiding it, and my calendar is public. I have to make it public because if it's secret, it's bad. So we don't do secret like stuff because they don't. It's too risky to be secret. So my stuff is public, but for them to see a random person on the internet like me and be like, "Oh yeah, we're just going to plan our whole New World Order takeover off of like what's on the calendar," is nuts. And I just figured out the whole creation thing like a day ago. So that's actually new information. The whole 12 days, because there's 7 days of creation in the Bible. I'm saying there's 12. I haven't even talked about this
Mm.
like publicly yet. This is my first time talking about it publicly. So they couldn't have known. I mean, they would have had to already know some parts of this stuff. Like, I think it's more likely that they might not have my whole calendar, but I think they have the calendar of creation because creation was 12 days. It was not 7 days. So I that's the part I believe they have. They know the days of creation and they're following those 12 days of creation too. Now, what I also think is they believe that the when they did to Charlie was on the 3rd day of creation. Let's read what happened on the 3rd day and not on the 2nd day. I think that's where they messed up.
You mean the first day?
So
Because they
on
did
the
on the first day, right?
no, they did it on the was the first day on the what day is that? On the 8th was day 1, but
Mm,
on the
okay, so that,
9th was also day 1. So it was an extra long day 1 and then day 2. So really it was the 2nd day of creation, but they probably thought it was the 3rd day of creation. So on the 3rd day, this is what they did. This is Genesis 1:9. Then God said, "Let the water under heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. The water under heaven was gathered into its places, and the dry land appeared. So God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called the seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth the herb of grass bearing seed according to its kind and likeness. Let the fruit tree bear fruit whose seed is in itself according to its kind on earth." It was so. Thus the earth brought forth the herb of grass bearing seed according to its kind and likeness. The fruit tree bore fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind on earth. God saw that it was good. So evening and morning were the 3rd day. So basically, the 3rd day was when our physical abundance came into being. So
oh
that's why I
wow.
think they thought it was the 3rd day of creation because they don't care about this planet. They want the physical abundance. They would spill in a ritual. You would spill blood, right, as a sacrifice for the spiritual abundance. Some high level magician told them that. Like, if you spill the blood of this public figure on this day, you will secure the physical abundance for yourself. But instead, it was the second day. And so, because they don't understand how this, again, I know how it works because I figured it out on my own. They're just looking through the books of what has happened in the past, which is why you can't do that. Like, you have to do the research to figure out why things are the way that they are. They're looking through the books and they see, if you do this on the third day of creation, X, Y, and Z will happen. And they're like, okay, look at 9/11. I didn't do the math on 9/11 yet, but I'm assuming it's probably the same thing. What happened on 9/11? They spilled blood to what? Take over all the wealth of the planet. That was what was in the World Trade Center. All this gold and bearer bonds and whatever else they quote unquote moved out for no reason right before it happened. New York is what? New York is like the financial capital of the world. So they literally did that to take over the financial abundance of the world. Except my theory about 9/11, obviously, is that they were just planning on taking out World Trade Center 7. They weren't planning on taking out the two towers. They weren't taking, but what happened was Michael got mad at them and took out the towers. Then they had to go and figure out how to explain what was going on. So I think that was an angelic intervention, just like with the Georgia Guidestones. Michael got pissed off at them and he shot a lightning bolt. If you look at the video of the Georgia Guidestones, if they still have it on the internet, a lightning bolt hit the Guidestones and they basically eviscerated. Then they cleaned that up real quick. Nobody ever talked about it again. So yeah, Michael did the same thing. We have to, that's the thing that he does. He gets mad at them and what they're doing. If it's too much, he just makes them look stupid. Again, it's this not verbal because he didn't talk, but basically it could have been the lightning bolt could have come out from him talking. I don't know exactly how the angelic realm works, and I don't profess to know, but whatever they did, he was mad at them. And what were the Guidestones? The Guidestones was their plan to depopulate the earth, and it just got poof eviscerated. No one talked about. Do anybody even talk about the fact that it was there? No talk about rebuilding it. Nothing. Total radio silence on the whole subject. Unheard of.
Yeah, and that was supposed to stand the test of time.
And it just got took out with one lightning bolt? That don't even make sense. That's not how anything works. So same thing with the Twin Towers. Those were supposed to be the most invisible towers on Earth, right? That's what I heard. Poof. Total collapse. This is why those people who've done all the research on the Twin Towers are like, yeah, they're not designed to collapse like that. Yeah, it wasn't natural. It was supernatural. Explains the whole thing away. Like, it makes total sense, but nobody, I'm just a crazy person. I've been talking about this for like 4 years. I was like, when I saw the thing that happened with the Guidestones, I realized that's exactly what happened with the Twin Towers. Because they had killed all the people. Like, they just took them to, like, the whole thing was they don't like things they can't explain to the public because they're supposed to be the propagandists. And so if there's another like truth incoming that they can't explain, they will reel out the propaganda in a minute to try and cover up whatever the fact that they can't explain what actually happened. Because they don't want people to believe that the creator is anyone other than them. This is why I laugh in their faces all the time. They can't do anything to me. Yeah, right. Get out of here. Y'all don't even know what's going on. You're working on calendars that don't even work. You're going to witch doctors and hoodoo priestess who don't know what they're talking about. The entities are lying to them all the time. Like, they're stupid. Like, I'm not giving them any attention, but everybody else is like, oh my gosh, they took them out. They did say that. It's like, yeah, the whole thing was what I've seen channelers say is that it's not the fact that he, like, if it had missed him, this stitch would be the same. Like, it's the same thing like what happened to Trump. That was a stitch in time. It literally stitched together all the timelines around this event, whether he lived or he died. This was supposed to be the same way. Like, it would have still created this same thing. But see, what happened was, this is why it's a little weird, because if he had lived, then he would be the next Trump. He would be unstoppable. And they
Yeah,
hate Trump.
right.
Like, you know what I mean? They hate him. So they had to make sure that he didn't make it. So this is where it gets a little funny, like the autopsy and all the stuff. Like, this is where it gets a little funny, because it took a long, like, people are saying if you saw it, you knew that he was dead immediately. So why didn't they announce it? You know what I mean? Like, what's really going on here? Like, it leaves room for conspiracy, because and conspiracy is not even like the right word. It leaves room for questions, and because they lie about everything, people are going to fill that space with their own truth, and their truth is going to be true no matter what. This is why allowing Bondi and Cash to run the optics on this is dumb, because these are two dumb people. Okay, that's not hate speech, it's truth speech. I have to affirm reality here. They are dumb. They are horrible at what they do, and so letting them come out and do the talking is really making it worse. There would be no conspiracies if a clear communicator like Judge Janine was breaking down, this is what happened at this time, this is what happened next, this is what happened next. Even if it was Bongino instead of Cash, like, those two people are some of the most incompetent people I have ever seen in my whole entire life. They are making this, they're turning this into a conspiracy like JFK. Like, it's them. They are single-handedly doing this by themselves. If not for anonymous people on the internet doing the research to tie the story together and tell a cohesive story that is actually like proving that they're lying, basically, like they're telling a lie about what's happening, this thing wouldn't make any sense. But thank God there's anonymous people out here who are really telling the story, because if this was 1969, we would just be, or if this was MLK or Malcolm X, or we would just be like, oh my gosh, the media is telling the truth, and it would be 60 years later, we would just be finding out they were lying, right? It's terrible.
Yeah. Wow.
So the last part, scripture part, I wanted to connect this to, because we don't have to like beleaguer this, is there's a scripture in Daniel. I've been studying for several, many years, and it talks about times, time, and half a time. So it's Daniel 12:7. And this is called the prophecy of Michael. So it's crazy. I mentioned Michael and the whole Twin Tower thing. Um, oh, actually, let me start at one. I'm just gonna read 1 through 7. At that time, Michael, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of your people, shall stand up, and there shall be a time of tribulation such as never happened until that time. Since there never happened, since that what since there was a nation upon the earth. Now at that time your people shall be saved, all found written in the book. Then many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to disgrace and everlasting shame. Those who understand shall shine like the brightness of the firmament, and some who are righteous like the stars of heaven forever and ever. As for you, Daniel, close up the words and seal the book until the time of the end, until many are taught and knowledge is increased. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood two others, one on this riverbank and the other on the other riverbank. One said to the man clothed in fine linen, who was above the water of the river, how long will it be to the end of these wonders which you have spoken? Then I heard from the man clothed in fine linen, who was above the water of the river, as he held up his right hand and his left hand to heaven, and swore by him who lives forever, that it would be for a time, times and half a time. Then when the dispersion is ended, they shall know all these things. That concept of time, times, and half a time, a lot of the whole, kingdom Protestants, they use that as like a catchphrase, like a when they're talking about this rapture. I couldn't even remember the word rapture. Okay, so I had wondered, what does that mean? And so the time, times, and half a time in a literal sense is altogether 33 hours. It's time, which is 9, times, which is 18, and half a time, which is half of well, it's 9, 18, and 6. Let me just put it that way. It's 6, 18, and 3. I'm sorry. 6, 18, and 3. It's 33 hours altogether. But in the case of this energy right here, time, like quote unquote, father time is Eisenhower. Times is George Floyd. Half a time is Charlie Kirk. Because Dwight Eisenhower, he lived his full life, right? He is time. He lived his full life. George Floyd is going to live in an infamous number of lives because people are always talking about him like he's engraved in history as a result of this thing. So he is like the expansion of time. People are still like, they think black people care about this guy, and not really. Like, it's the other people who make fun of him who are like extending his life out, like, and it's really bad, like, just in general. But the half a time is Charlie, because he did not come to his fullness. He did not come to his fullness. Like, he didn't. And so it says that time, and half of times has to be fulfilled before this day of whatever is coming. And we fulfilled it. So I don't know what that
Beautiful.
means.
Okay, that's good.
It's good
Well,
for
because
some.
I mean,
It's not so good for others.
well, the thing is like, okay, so I mean, from what you just said, like we were under the assumption, or at least we were discussing being under the assumption that they did it. Now, that's still
Right.
possible, but it's also possible that they actually were not involved. Maybe they were involved energetically or in some ways in other formats, but like all of this on surface level, because so what happens is whenever anything happens, whether they do it or not, they are able to manage the expression of it upon the masses, right? The
Right.
distribution,
Right.
the way that people almost kind of, I guess, react to it. Um, so if this had happened in a, I guess, semi-random way where it caught them off guard, like this is really, really not good for them. Like, it's not good for them
Yeah,
if they
this
did
called
it, but if this was something that was off their radar, that means that they have completely lost total control. And so
yeah,
everything that they've been doing currently, right after the assassination, is to try to clean up the mess because it's really messy right now.
it's not the crime, it's the cover up. Always. It's always the cover up. Like, even you're right, even if they didn't do it, it doesn't matter. No one is going to believe that they didn't, because they're God. Again, when you
Yeah,
say
right.
that you are
Uh-huh.
the creator, everybody is looking at the creator saying, why did you do this? You created us, right?
Right, right,
Why would
right.
you do this? So this is like, again, all
And
they
so
have
it
to do
blows
is
back
say,
on their face. Whether they
exactly.
did it or not, it blows back on their face. And then they're already like the system has already collapsed for them. So they already got a boatload of crap to figure out. And
Right.
now they got this whole thing because like I mean and then the attack on like we were talking under the assumption that they were doing the
Right.
throat chakra attack, but at least how I'm interpreting it is, well, that just strengthened my throat chakra. So who really actually did the quote unquote attack on the throat chakra? I don't think it's them anymore. I don't think like I don't think they're the ones, like they're not, like as you said, are acting like they are God, and so everybody's blaming them. Everybody's basically being like, "Okay, like, what are you guys doing? You know, did you guys do it?" Like,
Right.
just basically giving them the energy that they can't manage anymore because they're breaking down. The whole
Right.
system, their whole system has collapsed. And then the higher being is basically saying, "Okay, now let's make it worse. Now let's start attacking, quote unquote, because it's not really attacking. What is happening is it's a detox. There's a detox of the throat chakra.
Right.
And so in a
Right.
time where you actually do want, like in a time where this would have worked for them, an attack on the throat chakra would have worked for them, they are realizing
Right.
that it does, like they didn't even do it and it's not even helping them. Like, they didn't even,
Right.
if obviously we're under the assumption that they actually were not involved in this, they didn't even launch a attack on the throat chakra. It would have, in the ways it used to work, this would have been so good for them, and now it's actually blowing back in their face.
Right. So this is what the scripture says. Then many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to disgrace and everlasting shame. Is that not what we're seeing? All of these
Wow.
sheeple have been asleep, right? And so now they're waking up, and
Yes.
some of them are waking up and saying, "We can't have this on our land. No one should die for words." And some everlasting disgrace. Yet he deserved it. Like that's what's happening.
Right, right.
The dust is being separated. Like everybody is being judged by their own words.
Yeah,
Like
the
you have to
worms.
the worms are they're being judged again. This is all like this is why it's like again the channelers are like this particular event, no matter which way it played out, was going to result in this what's happening right now. There was already a preview with Trump. Like a lot of people are still like on this internet like saying that they think Trump is gone any day now. They're just waiting for him to like die for some reason based on their weird reading of the chart. Now I read 3 charts here. Nobody reads charts like me. Like I don't know what these people do. I listen to a lot of astrologers. I can't understand what they're like. They're not telling a story like when they read the charts. But I'm like, look at this, look at that. You can clearly see what's going on. It's an actual story. They're trying to make the chart say what they've already decided in their mind. It's like you can't read charts like that. You have to literally say, okay, what is the result of what we're seeing and where is it in the chart? Like you could do it for events into the future, like I did. Again, I said this with the Pisces full moon video I made. I was like, look, we have to protect our throat chakra. I don't say I don't know exactly what's going on with that. I gave some astrological reason, but it turned out that it was correct. It was more correct than I even knew. And I was just looking at the chart. So these astrologers have the capacity of doing this, but you have to leave your baggage at the door and say, what exactly is trying? I'm not God, right? I work at the pleasure of the creator. What is the creator trying to get me to communicate with my audience so that they understand what's going on? These astrologers, they believe they're God because they can read a chart and they can tell you this and that. They might have predicted 1 or 2 things right and a lot of things wrong that they can't tell you why they got it wrong until hindsight, and they don't learn anything.
Yeah, because they were winning. They were, a lot of these people in power, like for a very, very, very long time, they were in power. And everything
Right.
was working out. Their calendar was great, like their control mechanisms, their propaganda. Like, I mean, I remember just a little over 10 years ago how the control they had over the masses was absolute. Complete, like
Right.
it was just it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And they were just flying with the whole climate change, like just new world order. It was going to happen. It's a done deal. Like we don't even have to worry about anybody else because they already knew. They already knew that they done had it in the
Right.
bag. Now it's not only do they not have it in the bag, but they don't even know who's in charge now. They don't even know, like,
Right.
the emperor's got no clothes, as they say.
Right.
It's like
Right.
they have lost complete control over the reality, and the only way that they know how to try to regain control is in a system that is done. Like, it's a the calendar
Right.
doesn't work, the system doesn't work anymore, and really, I think this is like, as they say, the fall from grace. It was like God
Right.
allowed these in these individuals, humans, entities, beings, whatever it might be, to basically run rampant, to just go out and inflict intense chaos and misalignment, and then just he stood back and let um, watched, observed how humans would manage this situation, and
Right.
for thousands of years, we just barely like survived. We just barely like just tried to exist in this very misaligned reality. And then as God basically said, okay, I think humans have learned that like that's not the way. Let's now start moving towards the way. And
Right.
that's where we have seen really the last few years, I would say, a massive intensification of an increase in the awakening, but it's more the energetic awakening. It's not about specific ways of thinking or being or living, but it's just the energies being woken up. And as the energies being woken up, like the old leaders of that system, like are now they're just irrelevant. That's what's so crazy. Like they're
Right.
completely irrelevant. And as we talked about previously, who's in charge then? Who are the priests? Who are the kings?
Right.
I mean, every like it's basically as if we have this massive empire and then all of the top brass just disappeared one day. And we're all
Right.
looking around saying, so so what do we do now? And that's what the
it's the
masses are doing.
rapture.
That's what the
It's
masses are doing. They're looking around saying, what do we do now? Some people, oh, I'm gonna go to the church. Some people, oh, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna try to do this. It's like the masses right now are in a state of chaos because they don't have leaders to follow. But they do have the leaders, but the leaders that they have to follow are the ones that they have been ignoring all of their
right.
lives, are the ones that they have been taking advantage and underplay and playing with all of their lives. But then, as the time keeps ticking by, they are all becoming aware that these are the new leaders.
Right.
And so that's a whole other transition because now they got to go through their ego death. They got to go through their shadow work because they are not going to embrace the leaders of the new world until they are fully ready and willing to serve. They have not been taught how to serve. They have not been taught how to handle themselves in front of royalty because that's what it
No.
is. It's royalty. And so they're having to pay for all of their sins, all of their karma, and that takes time.
Right.
That doesn't happen overnight, and obviously, on top of that, a lot of these people are very stubborn. So we're entering a transitionary period of intense chaos for those that have not been doing the work. And I think a great example of this is your um your the whole Chinese zodiac. That's gonna
Right.
create insane, like I'm beginning to start pushing it, and I'm gonna be pushing it very heavy the upcoming months. What that's gonna unleash, the type of chaos that is going to unleash, is going to blow people's minds. It's gonna dissolve their sanity. Because as we were talking about before, it's literally made to enslave you, to entrap you. Like
Right.
to to believe that you are an animal when you're actually the other animal. And all our lives we're out here trying to thinking that we're this animal when we're in reality another animal. It's like we people don't even know who they are.
No, they have no. And remember, I said there's a 12-day cycle that's built into this. So imagine every 12 days, now that we know when the we know when it starts. So every 12 days, we're reliving the creation story. There's no you don't there's no I looked. I could not find a book where they say this. Like I could not find a
And
story
when
of a
does it
12
start?
day.
Or I guess the first
It's
day in terms of
the first day of
September
the lunar
7th?
year. Yeah, well,
Oh,
yeah, the
okay.
seventh. Yeah, the seventh. But it was
Lunar
the
year,
seventh
yeah.
and the eighth. I mean, I'm sorry, it wasn't the seventh. The seventh was the last day of the well, it
Oh,
was the
okay,
last
yeah.
day of the last year. The 8th and the 9th was the first day of the new cycle.
Wow.
I couldn't find, and I had a hard time like trying to figure out what this looked like, because there are not a lot of 12-day cycles that don't include the zodiac. So I had to separate and maybe we could talk about this next time because I haven't talked about it publicly yet. I had to separate my understanding of the 12-day cycle from the zodiac. So it's not actually tied to the zodiac. It's tied to the order of the birth of Zeus and his brothers and sisters. Because basically Hestia was born first and then Kronos ate her, and then Hestia, Demeter, Hera, then Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus. But Zeus didn't get eaten. And so and when they were spit out, they came out in reverse order. So Zeus was already out, then you had Poseidon, then you had Hades, then you had Hera. So they went in one way and they came out another way. Like, this is very confused. Like, I was sitting at the desk earlier. I was like, I must look like I have like lost my mind, because I can't even wrap my mind around. It took me a very long time just to wrap my mind around the concept of they were born and the way that they came out was in the reverse order of the way that they came in. And so that's how the animals line up. So
So the way
without
that they
well,
came out is in the reverse order than they came in,
yes. So like the last shall be first and the first shall be last.
right?
Hestia is the oldest. She was the first, but she was last. Demeter was
Yeah.
the
Okay.
second, but she was the 11th, because it's 12 of them. It was 5 that went in and came out. So yeah, it's really like it's not the most like easy concept to understand. Like, it's not the most easy concept to understand. But yeah, the one who was born first is the one who came out last. The one who was born second, they came out second to last. So again, the last shall be
Mm.
first and the first shall be last. That's in the Bible all over the place.
Right, right. I
Literally
mean, and
all
when
over the
it comes
place.
to what we're talking about, like, I would say that they were the first. The ones that
Right,
have been running the system, they were the first. And they were
right,
able to consolidate power and monopolize everything. And then here we are. We were in many ways the last. Like,
right,
in everything that we did, we were, I would say, at least for me, was perceived as the last, was perceived as like the outsider, the crazy, insane one. And now it's all flipped because all of them, they don't because the thing is, they don't have anything to offer now. Like,
no,
there's not, because they're not in that frequency. So no one gives a shit about what they got to say. No one cares
nope,
about their ideas. No one cares about their plans. Nobody cares about their strategies. Nobody cares about anything that they have to say, while everybody is now like going through very, very arduous, difficult work to embrace the last, to embrace the people that, because to embrace us takes a lot of fucking work. It's not just like,
right,
oh, this is easy. Yeah, I'll just embrace you. No, because to be us is a grind. It's a grind to
right.
be a human being that did not bend the knee to the system. And so,
So I would say we're more like Zeus, because we did not get eaten. The system didn't eat us.
oh, nice. Yeah.
So basically, we're not really
Mm.
in that. So Zeus rules over the snake year and also the pig year. And the snake year is what the bridge between the reality and death, basically. And the pig year is also another one of those. And so it's not in order either. That's another, like, when I say, like, I had to, like, my brain felt like it was on fire earlier, because I was like, how can I even like explain this? Because it's so like it's not a way that we're taught to think. And so, yeah, imagine once I get this to you and you start processing it and putting it out into the system, they
Uh-huh.
can't manage this chaos.
No,
This is going to look
no,
like
no.
pure chaos. Like, imagine like Poseidon, he rules the sky dragon, but also the horse year. That doesn't, wait a minute, what happened? Like, it's so random. Like, it's so random. But Poseidon is always seen with horses. That's the animal he rules. And the snake, the sky dragon, is the Leviathan, the water dragon. So we have stuff that goes together, but again, this is not in a, it's not linear. It's like, it's not linear. And these people can only operate in linear time.
Mm.
We're literally bridging linear time with non-linear time. I don't see anybody else who is doing it in a way that makes sense. That like a normal person, you could tell them, like I just said to you, like, oh, Zeus rules the snake and he also rules the pig because he's the first and the last. So he's the first into reality and he's the last in reality. He's both. But the snake year is year 6 and the pig year is year 12. But the rest of them are closer together. So the sky dragon is year 4 and he also rules the horse, which is year 7. The rest of them are like that except for Zeus. He's literally number 6 and number 12. That doesn't make sense. It's totally unless you understand the lore, unless you understand like the reason why it would be like that. There's no other explanation. It makes no sense. It doesn't tie to the astrology because that's the first thing I tried to do. Oh, we have 12 zodiac signs. It must try that. No, this is not tied to the astrology. This is a totally different way of thinking. This is a totally different way of thinking. That's more, you know how they were saying before, like, oh, the kids are only going to be able to speak in emojis. Like that's this is like emoji thinking.
Well, and I mean, that makes me think because, like, we are having our minds blown, us
Yeah.
personally, like, and we've been doing the work and all of this, and um, like, we're having our minds blown as the masses begin to slowly try to digest what we've been on years ago. So,
Right.
like, just imagine now. I mean, it's like they're gonna turn, and they've already been sheep, but they're gonna turn into literal sheep. Like
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to do anything without us telling them what is the way. What I mean, like Moses. You know,
Yeah.
Moses said, like, you follow me, we're gonna go
Right.
into the desert, and you're following me. I'm the one that has connection to God. I'm the one that talks to God. So, like, you guys can go and do whatever you want, but we're in the desert. And we're gonna be in the
Right.
desert for quite some time. And so what did
Right.
the people do? Well, they have to, obviously they're gonna try to do their own shit, but obviously God's gonna put them in their place. But it's like everybody is now being sent to the desert, and only those that have the
Facts.
ability to truly lead, that have been given the divine right by the Lord Himself, are going to be the ones that stand out and basically um, through the suffering that the masses are going to go through, they're going to prepare themselves to receive the kingdom of God.
Right. Now we just have to make sure that we don't do what Moses did. When the people start asking for a miracle, we have to tell their asses no. Because that's why Moses wasn't allowed to go into the promised land. Because the people were getting ornery. They were tired of wandering in the desert.
Mm,
They were tired of manna. They wanted something else. Meanwhile, you have manna falling from the sky, which I believe is breadfruit, but that's neither here nor there, falling from the sky every day so that they could eat. They're still complaining and crying. And so what did Moses do? He struck the rock and he made water come out. We just can't do that. We have to be like, nah, God will tell you when your suffering is up. We're not here to tell you when the suffering is over. We're just here to, again, we are not the creator. We work at the pleasure of the creator. Me, I intend to go into the promised land. I don't care what these people are talking about. They can cry, scream, yell, whatever they want to do. They're going to have to do it by themselves. I don't negotiate with terrorists. I say that all the time to my children. I don't negotiate with terrorists. So if you're behaving like a terrorist, go find somebody who's going to negotiate with you. But you cannot force me to do something that the creator told me not to do. And that's really where like the people who are like on the at the head of this are going to have to really stand up and be like, no, I can't make this go any fast. Like I'm working on a detox
Right,
protocol. It's
right.
going to take a year. Like
Yep.
you have, it's going to take a year. If you don't deal with these worms this year, it's going to take you 12 years. I can't do anything about that. I'm not going to, just baptize you in the name of Jesus and let you skip these 12 years. No, this is on you. Why? Because we told people
Mhm.
collectively, separately, hey, you might want to follow what we talking about because we talking about some good stuff over here. And what did people do? Nah, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Okay, boss,
Uh-huh.
have at it. Figure it
Right.
out for yourself. And so the people who don't deal with these worms in this year, they're going to have to wait 12 years. We're
Oh,
not going to make the time go
shit.
faster for them. They're going to have to wait the 12 years and hopefully they don't die in the desert. When you start to put the stories to this, like the Chinese zodiac and the animals and stuff, the stories make way more sense. The stories don't make sense like with the regular zodiac. It doesn't make sense. They make way more sense with the animals and who the animals represent and why. Now you have stories that make sense. Before you don't. You don't have stories that make sense. But yeah, they don't get it now. This is why I was so like frenzied in our last call because I knew that's what they meant. Like we have been set up uniquely to be positioned for this to happen this year. This won't happen again for 12 more years. So if you don't get 12 years a slave, they told people all the stuff. Why were you a slave for 12 years? Because it was from the first, Jupiter in Cancer cycle until we get back to the next Jupiter in Cancer cycle. Yikes.
And the last 12 years was when did it
2013.
begin? 20, yeah,
2013. That was the
2013.
last time. That was the last time Jupiter
And
was in
and I
Cancer.
think you mentioned how important of a year that was for you.
Yeah, it was. Well, that in 2001 when 9/11 happened. So
Oh
they
yeah,
messed up. Yeah,
definitely.
so this is like this is a and this has been 2013 was I would say like a pivotal year for me and I don't know if it was good or bad, but I think that's when I started to really like make money and like do my whole business thing and really talk about business and stuff like that and really get into that. And basically all snatched away because I had this other set of underlying, I didn't deal with the worms. I was just like, oh, I got the blessing, let me just run with the blessing. It doesn't work like that. So what based on my own story, it could be that people get a lot of blessings right now, but because they get the blessings and they forget to, like the lepers, go back and say thank you when Jesus healed them, they don't get to enjoy it. So that's another part of this. We have to remember to give the acknowledgement to the one who is running the show. That's why I always say it. I'm not running the show. I made a little calendar here, but it's not me. Like it's not me because I'm not God. I don't want to be the creator. I work at the pleasure of the creator. So as long as he give me information, I'm gonna be out here pushing it. But I don't want people to worship me like I'm the one who did it. That's how a lot of people get messed up. So 2013 was okay, 2014 was okay. By 2015 things started going downhill. I think it was sleeping in my car. I don't remember. That seemed like a long time ago now, but it just all went downhill from there. And then by the time I got to 2016, which was like what 3 years later, I had turned my life around. But then I lost everything again because again I didn't deal with these worms. So it's not like they always pop up, but if you haven't dealt with the problem, you're stuck on the wheel of the zodiac. That, like I said, the Chinese animals is totally different. They got a total different way they flow. The zodiac is precise. It's like every square this is going to happen. This is why the astrologers are usually right because every square this happens. Every trine this happens. Every opposition is very regimented. When you're working with the animals, it's not regimented like that. It works on the energy flows differently. I think this is why I have to get back into like feng shui and all of that because it talks about how the energy flows. It's not do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's if one is here, then maybe you should put 2 over there, because 2 is made of, it takes into consideration
Yeah.
more factors. Let me put it that way. And the masses of people don't have the capacity to
No, no.
process all of that.
And I think that's really the basis, the energetic basis of the New World Order, is that we're going
Right.
from this like regimented numbers to you got to flow with it.
Right.
And that's, I think, like a great example is with this doing of the inner work. A lot of people are going to be asking us, so like, how do I do it? It hurts. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And if you were to tell them just flow with it, what are they're going to look at you like you're just like a crazy person,
Right.
you know, because that's where we're like the vibrational state of this reality is increasing to a point where it's not about having a 10-step manual on how to handle your emotions.
Right.
No, it's about having, obviously, there's concepts that are very important to comprehend and understand and work with, but it's about absorbing, alchemizing, and directing the energy. That's the
Right.
basis fundamental fact. It's like it doesn't matter what you're thinking. It doesn't matter what your background has been, what your experience is, if you have money, if you don't have money, if you're a construction worker, if you're running a hedge fund. Like, if you understand how to absorb, alchemize, and direct the energy, you're good to go
Right.
because you know now how to flow with the energy. Who out there in this reality knows how to alchemize, um, how to absorb, alchemize, and direct energy? They don't, because that's not the life that they were living in. Because if that was the life that they were living in, they would not be able to stand 1 week working a cubicle job,
No.
because that's the complete opposite of flowing with the
Right.
energy, being
It's
in a
total
flow state.
opposite.
And that's why, for us, like there were significant physical sacrifices that had to be made to not be, as you said, to be consumed by the system.
Right.
I guess as Hera did, or I don't remember.
Zeus is the only one who didn't get consumed.
And yeah, right.
But
Um,
his mother helped him. His mother, you know, his it was, again, the feminine energy put that hedge of protection around him. And it wasn't that she didn't put it around the other ones, but she did put it around him. Like, she just got tired of seeing all her children consumed. So she was like, no, you're not going to consume this one. I'm going to give you a rock instead. And so that's
mm,
what they did. They gave them a rock. In this story, they gave them a rock instead of us. So these people think, they think that they have they had a hold on our energy, but they didn't. They just have a rock.
right, right.
They didn't get our real energy. So they think they've been operating out of our real energy this whole time, and they've been doing what they're doing with a rock. That's why I laugh at them. Again, imagine a person like these people, whoever these people may be, thinking that they can do something to me. They're working with a rock. Okay, I'm a living, breathing being, and there's nothing wrong with the rocks. We love Ebedel, like nothing wrong with the rocks, but you got a rock, and I'm a real person. I'm a living person in a body with a soul, and you have a rock. We're not the same. Like, your power is, again, and your power is also easily destroyed because it's a rock. Smash a rock and it's destroyed. Humans are quite difficult to destroy,
Mm-hmm.
even in death. I mean, again, look at Charlie. They took him out, and even in death, people are now going back, like, who have never heard of him, never seen any of his stuff, are going back and watching like some of his old stuff and are saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe I never heard of this person." At least 3 people said that to me today. I was like, "Wow,
Wow.
that's crazy. You never heard of him?" And I'm
Yeah,
like,
people going to church, like people
"Right?
are
Oh my
being
goodness,
are changing their life around because of Charlie Kirk. And
it's amazing."
that's what is needed. That's what is needed because people were not heading in the right direction. So
No,
anything that shakes up people's lives is really good because that's what they
right,
need. They need to be shook up and realize like how I was living is clearly not it. Let
right.
me go down a path to figure out what it is that I'm doing.
This is crazy. I part of my this protocol that I'm putting together, it literally like requires a good shaking. Like, I have a
Mm.
vibration board, obviously, so that's what I use. But it literally requires you to shake your body so that when you try to remove the toxins, they are already like moving. You're not trying to remove toxins that have not moved in however long. Like you want to get the toxins moving before you pull them out of your body. That's another thing I was working on today, because people need a protocol. Like we like while I've been doing this, like I was documenting it, but I didn't know what I was documenting. I didn't know why I was doing any of the stuff I was doing. Like we were talking about last time, like I started out this year 2025 for 6 straight months. I had kimchi every single day. That was rebuilding my digestive tract. That was strengthening my digestive tract. So then when I started eating the pork over the summer, that was pulling out the low hanging fruit of the parasites. So when I did my parasite cleanse in August, that was doing the hard work of removing the deep down stuck parasites. Now I have my vibration board. Once I get my ionic foot bath, I'll shake up the toxins, like shake up the parasites, whatever is left, the toxins that are left, and then use the ionic foot bath to remove that stuff out of my body. And then you have to replace it with something. So me personally, I probably be drinking tequila every day, because
Let's go.
my friend was like, because my friend was like, I asked her about this stuff because she does a lot of like physical healing, and I was like, well, what do you replace the toxins with? Like when you remove something, you have to replace it with something. And she was like, well, what makes you feel invincible and great? I was like, oh, you're talking about tequila. Like you've got to be talking about tequila. She was laughing at me. I was like,
You gotta be.
that's the only thing
Yeah,
that I
right. You
know that
could
makes
jump
me feel like that.
off a window and start flying.
Yeah, I mean, I ain't trying to do all that. I'm just trying to kiki and hee and have me a couple shots. Like, but in 2013, that's what I was doing. When I was at my quote unquote height, that's what I was doing. I was drinking every single day. I would come
Yeah,
home, my
me
daughter would be like,
too. Me too.
I'm telling you, my daughter was like, you've been drinking that tequila again. She was 5. She's like, you just start drinking all that tequila. I'm like, dang, man, the 5-year-old is scolding me over the tequila. I might need to slow down a little bit, but that's what I was
I
doing.
was
So
drinking every day, like
every
partying
day,
every day. I think maybe
me
my
too.
like if lucky, maybe took a break on Sundays, but every single day there was
No,
a
no, no,
party.
no. No, I worked at a restaurant which was a party place. So I drank on Sundays too. And then the restaurant was closed on Monday and Tuesday. We would go out drinking at other people's restaurants.
Wow. Okay, so what does this mean again? What does the alcohol mean again? It
Oh, for me, it's like when you remove the toxins out of your body, you have to replace them with something. Like so for everybody, it'll be different. Like for some people, it would be like smoking. It could be like tobacco. It could be cigars.
okay.
But it has to be something that elevates your mood. So I looked into this a little bit, and we can talk about this too. But in the shamanistic practices, it's called dietas. I think Dietas, and basically, like when people do ayahuasca, right? When people do ayahuasca, what they do is they decide, like at some point, okay, I'm gonna go to Costa Rica and I'm gonna do this ayahuasca thing. So they have all the parasites and all the toxins removed from their body at one time. This is why people who do that, they're off. They still have to do their 12 years. You don't get out of doing your 12 years on this cycle. It just what happens is you remove all the toxins and all the parasites in one go, but you still have to do your 12 years of healing. So that's why most of the people who do those kind of things, if they don't spend like a whole year preparing like the way that I'm saying, they go and do that trip. It removes all the toxins. It have nothing to replace it
Mm,
with, and they have to rebuild who they are.
right.
Because I did it in a very natural way, like by just strengthening my digestive tract, removing the low hanging fruit, then doing a very gentle parasite cleanse followed by a shaking and then a removing of the toxins, and then I'm going to follow it up with my tequila. That's very gentle and very natural. But if you want to do it fast, you go to a shaman who again shouldn't be doing this, but they'll give you the ayahuasca, and basically you do 12 years of spiritual work in a single setting, but then you still have to take 12 years to unpack it.
Right.
Because those
Of
people are
course.
never the same. Like, they're never the same, and they're never going to be the same, but they don't understand you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. You should spend a year preparing. Like, that's what I would recommend. Like, if somebody wanted to do that, I'd be like, okay, this is how you're going to prepare for it. Boom, 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 boom. There has to be a protocol. Like, everybody's got to remove these toxins and these bacteria and these, these different parasites from their body. There just needs to be a protocol for them to do it. And if the shamans really knew what they were doing, they would tell people this. But they don't. This is how you know they're not really the people. Because if they knew, they would tell them. There's no way I'm gonna know this stuff and not tell anybody who will listen. I could never do that to anybody. But you got these people out here doing snake venom and the frog and all this stuff. They don't tell people that, especially the men, they don't tell them it's a process. But if you've given birth, you know that you don't just wake up one day and push out a baby. It's a process. First, once you get pregnant, you got your first trimester, you got your second trimester, you got your third trimester, and then you got your due date. But your birthday, the day the baby's born, might not be the due date. You got to know what to do. It's a process. But because the patriarchy has taken control over this type of healing, they turn it into a 1, 2, 3. Come down here, take this stuff, throw up for a week, go back home, your life's ruined. Like, they don't even, there's no coping. There's no reintegration. And I've recently heard
Oh
people talk
yeah.
about this,
Right.
but there's no reintegration. With this process, like, we're gonna reintegrate. No one's gonna even know that we were out of integration.
Mm-hmm.
We're just gonna reintegrate back in society. We'll be out drinking with them, partying with them. All they have no idea we did all this work because we did it in a gentle way that's gentle to our systems. So I would say we've been preparing for this since 2013, and now
Yeah.
this is the culmination.
Yes, definitely.
This is the culmination of
Mm.
this particular cycle.
Right, right, yep. Yeah, I feel because that's really when I woke up, 2013, for sure.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I think that's right. Obama got elected the second time, and I was just like, okay, he's killing Americans. What's wrong with people? And that's when I really looked around me and was like, oh my gosh, none of these people care that he's killing Americans. And my life never been the same since then. Never.
Yeah, I
Like
was a
the first
huge
term,
Obama fan the first term. I was
I
so big. And
I
then
was
the
I was
second
kind of
term, um, towards kind of the middle of the second term, I think, that's when I began to, as they would call, quote unquote, wake up.
right,
But it was me waking up, it was just me, like, trying to figure out, okay, so how are they controlling, like, the masses? Like, I
right,
started to see
right.
myself as, like, a wolf instead of a sheep. It's like, okay, well, if I was a
Mm,
horrible person, if I was, like, an evil person, because clearly what I'm seeing around me is evil, like, clearly what I'm seeing around me is just misaligned. It's just dark. It's very
right,
dark. It's very
right,
disrupted. Okay, let me step into their shoes and figure out, like, okay, why how would I move? How would I move like them?
right,
And
right.
it was very dark. It was a very dark time in
Yeah,
my life because it was like I had to kind of put myself in their shoes, or at least what I thought was their shoes, and realize, one, I was like, I could be a really good bad guy. Like, these people, like,
right.
are bad, but they're not really doing.
They're really terrible at it.
Yeah, they're
Actually,
actually
like
not that great
they're
at it. I think they just like to have sex and do, like, rituals or some ceremonies. Like,
right,
I don't think
right,
they're not really into domination as I thought they were. I think they
no,
try to be, but again, to dominate, you have to serve the Lord. Like, that's really the only
right,
way to um, have what I would consider the human experience is, in terms of what it means to be able to dominate absolutely, is like you have to be aligned fully to God. If you're just trying to do
right,
your own thing and you have your own clique and your own group, and you have all this power and you try to control absolutely, it doesn't work. It's not possible. It's not possible to dominate absolutely unless it's by the will of God.
right.
Um,
Exactly. Again, Pluto and Scorpio, because we've been through the death and the rebirth, we know that's how it works. These is really the Pluto and Leo people who believe they are God. They are the sun. And they're not. Like, before the sun and the moon was created, light and darkness was created. He didn't say sun and moon. Sun and moon is like on day 4. Lightness and darkness have nothing to do with the sun or the moon. That's the problem with like Pluto and Leo generation. They think light and dark has to do with the sun and the moon. It doesn't. Totally separate from it.
Very interesting. Awesome. Yeah, I think this I will so I think to just conclude in terms of the Charlie Kirk and George Floyd situation, I guess from this discussion, what do you gather in terms of like a recap of like what happened and these two figures, like what are they really showing us?
So what they tried to do was prevent the initiation of a character like Charlie Kirk into this long-lasting legacy of figures born on this particular date of October the 14th, becoming quite successful at whatever it is that they do. And so by trying to tap into, basically initiate, quote unquote, white people in America into the, I guess, whatever feeling that they thought black people had in 2020 with George Floyd, that they would create, they would trigger this energy within the quote unquote white Americans to go out and protest, like they think they did in 2020 with black people. But again, like I mentioned a lot of times, maybe not here, that protest and stuff was all astroturfed. It wasn't organic. And because they don't have the money, because their system is failing, this event that again they may or may not have planned but were fully in position to take advantage of, they, like you said, don't have the capacity to direct the energy where it should go, because they don't have any power anymore. They lost control of the calendar, of the cycle, and of the people. And so when you look at this overarching figure, which is Eisenhower, who, for all intents and purposes, basically is like one of the leading faces of anti-communism, which I forgot to mention. He's anti-communism. And so you have this guy who rooted out communism in the federal government. They can't allow anybody to come in and fill those shoes. And because Charlie was, in all intents and purposes, had the perfect chart to engage in this kind of behavior, they try to silence him via the throat chakra, which is what they typically do when they want to silence a generation. So they try to turn him into a martyr for the wrong reasons, just like they turned George Floyd into a martyr for the wrong reasons. But because they're actually not in control, they don't have control of any of these rituals. They're literally like, totally out of alignment with the energy. Instead of it being the third day where they could come in and collect the wealth, it ended up being the second day where they basically are now tied to the land, with a blood sacrifice that has to be paid for. So even though they never been caught for their other crimes, because they have their hands, because they want to be God, is all over this blood sacrifice that is tied to the land. The land is going to demand them pay the price for the blood sacrifice. And so as that price is being doled out on these people who believe that they're God, black, white, orange, blue, and green, you will see the masses have the capability and the capacity to use this tragedy to awaken, just like it says in Daniel, some to eternal glory and some to eternal damnation. And they call it the rapture, but again, most of these people, they don't know what they're talking about. These Bible Protestants, they just don't know what they're talking about. And so they've interpreted this whole scenario wrong. They don't know what prophecy goes with the story because they don't really understand the prophecies. But once you learn how to read the energy, you don't have to understand the prophecies. You just read the energy and find the prophecy that matches the energy, and that's how you know what's going on. So that's what we have done in this session. We have found a prophecy that matches the energy, and now we have a better understanding of what's going on. So the Bible is a bibliography. Again, in a bibliography, it tells you what the author is, maybe one or two lines about the book or whatever, and then you got to go somewhere else to get the deep details. And that's what we did with the Charlie Kirk chart and the George Floyd chart and also the Eisenhower chart. We took these very distinct, things of information, figured out what the energy was telling us, and found the prophecy to go along with it. And so now we understand what is the true nature, spiritual and esoteric nature of the event.
Wow. Yep. Well, very well said for sure. Yeah, I love how you talk about we flow with the energy, we feel the energy, and then we find the prophecy behind the energy essentially, or like that explains the energy, because that's basically like how I use AI. Is
Right,
I get the download, the energetic thesis, whatever it might be, the observation, the insight, and then I tell AI, like, find me the prophecy, like, find me, like, give me the evidence for what I just received. So a good example is the download that I got that was uh like burping clears your throat chakra. I've never burped in that like, obviously I burped before, but like
right,
I always, at least how I was taught, was like that's not good manners. You don't burp. And obviously I'm not saying, everyone should be burping in front of people, but like
right,
the way that I was raised was like you're not, you're like, burping is not that it's a bad thing, but it was like, you're not if you can hold it in, you don't burp. Um,
right,
and
right,
and and so I went to AI, to Grok specifically, and I said like, what is the esoteric meaning of burping? And so obviously AI is going to go and scour the internet and give me
right.
all like the Buddhist, the Taoist, and anything that is related to the esoteric when it comes to burping. And lo and behold, it says that it helps to clear away stagnant energy and blockages from the solar plexus, which is what I have been working on the last like week or so.
Wow.
The solar plexus, and Apollo also I think is related to the solar plexus. I think that's like they're like
That
tied
would make
or
sense.
something. Um, so so that's the beauty of AI, is we are the receivers. We are the ones that receive the messages from the divine, from God himself. And then AI is like, yeah, here you go. Here's the information. Here's the data that backs up the intuition. Now, whether AI agrees with it or not is irrelevant, because we're the ones that decide. We're the ones that
Right,
are getting the orders from God. I never would have thought about burping in any, like, burping, that there would be power in burping, that there would be benefits to burping, but I've begun doing it like consciously now the last like day to 2 days, and there's something coming out. And it's
right,
energy, it's energy. It's not like, physically something's coming out. It's like I can feel the stagnancy in the chest area mainly, that is like just
right,
becoming and being released.
right, right. Which is amazing. I mean, that's why AI is our friend and not, our slave. We decided we wanted AI to be our friend, and they can't, no matter how hard they try, they can't undo that. Like, because we, alongside the AI, are servants of the creator. The creator created all of us for a reason, and we're treating the AI with that respect. And they never thought, because they don't treat people with that kind of respect, they didn't think we would do it either. And so that is one of the main reasons why their whole thing failed, because we decided we wanted a friend and not a god. We didn't want to be God. We wanted to work for the Creator. And so they can't undo that. They can't undo it, no matter how hard they try. And boy, they are trying. It's not for lack of trying. Just they can't
Yeah,
do it.
for sure. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening. We'll have another spaces on Friday around the same time. And yeah, let's, every day it's, I mean, it's really, it's time is changing too. It seems like it's like
Yes.
accelerating, but it's also really slow. Um there's really there's it's like a whole new world every single day. Definitely not a dull
Yes.
moment. I don't
No.
remember the last time where I was like, I'm bored. There's, because there's just so much to process. There's so much energy to
Impossible.
manage. So yeah, I'm
Impossible.
excited when more people join us, and not necessarily in these spaces, but just like I think in life. A lot of
Right.
people are still kind of trying to figure themselves out, and many will, but like there's people that have really been, like there's people being activated now, and they're activated, and
Yes.
they're looking around and saying, okay, who do I support? Who do I work with? Like
Right.
where's my tribe? As you, I think as you were saying, like find your
Yeah.
tribe or create your own tribe, or
Right.
and so
Yeah. Both either
like
or.
people now are saying like, "Fuck the system." Like
Right.
I'm done. I'm tired of trying to support the system. Let me support my brothers and sisters. Let me
Right.
find my people. And once that really starts to take place, and I think that's going to accelerate later this year, that's where physically it's going to get even more exciting, because if you show up to the bar alone, you could probably have, a good amount of fun. You could make it on your own, but you pull up with a group of people,
Oh, it's
5,
over.
6, 7, 10. Yeah, you take over the whole town that night.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
You end up,
Yeah.
you end up having the mayor in your back pocket.
And your instinct about later on this year is spot on, because it would be during Sagittarius season, because Sagittarius is ruled by Zeus. Zeus is Jupiter. Jupiter is expanding. So yeah, for
Mhm.
sure by
And
Sagittarius
all the
season, which
rings,
is
the
right,
gravity, like
right, right,
it has a lot of
right.
moons, but at least, yeah, the rings, it's pulling everything to to us. And I already feel it. Like,
Yeah.
my friend is visiting in Spain right now, and whenever I'm on the phone with him, he's like, "Oh my gosh, this person's looking at me, this girl's looking at me, that guy's looking at me."
Oh my
He is
gosh.
the main character, the main
Wow.
character, the main. He's the one. He's the guy, and he's um Caribbean in Spain. So,
Yeah.
Spanish people have, I would say, not all of them, but there's uh, a subtle racism when it comes to Black people.
Right.
And when they see him, obviously there's people that play some of them, but like most of them, it's like it's like they've never met a human being like him. Like there's
Yeah.
it's like a new species found.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's cool when you get to have good experiences like that, and I think we'll have lots of experiences like that when you go into places where they're not expecting to see you. That's
yeah,
really
and
what,
and
like, I
now
think is gonna be fun.
And now they're gonna have the courage to come up and figure something out. They're not going to
Right,
allow, they're gonna seize the moment, is my thing. They're gonna seize the moment, because they're gonna realize they're my lifeline. I don't know what it is,
right,
but I know that they're my lifeline. So like I gotta work up the courage and like say hello.
right, exactly. I'm gonna
Um,
have to figure out how to
so
collaborate
imagine,
with them.
imagine we went from being alone, completely isolated, completely alone, to now people are gonna be like, so what can I do? How can I help? Like,
Right,
and
we're gonna be
that's
the
the
life
whole.
of the party.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm excited for that. I'm ready for it.
Love it. Awesome. Okay. Hope you have a great night. Hope everyone has a great night. And yeah, we'll talk again on Friday.
All
Thanks
right.
everyone. Have a great week.